Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is why Imam Ghazali rahimahullah have said a beautiful thing. He said, Ma'rifah of Allah is, knowing Allah is, that you go through every piece of information that is available to you in the world about knowing Allah, and at the end you realize that you have not known Him. That is knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. At the end we realize He's beyond anything that we can understand. That is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Take this very simple example of hearing. For us, when we use the word hearing, simply right away ear comes to the mind. So there is ear made out of flesh, and it needs to be maintained. It needs to be nourished. If proper food is not provided, the hearing will start getting down. If there is a lot of noise, a high noise, then the hearing will give up. With a lot of pressure around, pressure change in the pressure in the atmosphere, the hearing will be affected. The weather will affect the hearing. If so many people are speaking at the same time, we won't be able to hear all of them. This is all we know about hearing. So when we use the common word of hearing for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of course, it's totally unique. It's different. It's not this hearing. Does He need that piece of flesh? Wal-'iyāzu billah, then He will be in need. And Allah al-Samad is independent. He doesn't need anything. He doesn't need no one, nothing. We need that air that will transfer the voice from that person to us. He doesn't need that air. So we will be just using the common words. As far as His attributes, they are such that are beyond our imagination. Which means at one level our imagination will give up. You can hear. How much can you hear? And Rabbul Alameen subhanahu wa ta'ala hears everything and anything, whatever, any voice, any noise in the world, in the universe, He hears all of them at the same time. And one of the prayers of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was, O you who is not prevented from one hearing because of other hearing. That when there is one sound or there are a couple of sounds, these sounds will not prevent you from hearing the rest of the sounds, which is our case. So, attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is Tawheed in al-Asma' wa-Sifat. Realizing the attributes of Allah are unique, although we may use some common words for between us and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we hear and He hears. But it's only the word that is common, and the attributes of Allah are totally unique. So, Tawheed in the Asma and in the Sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the ilm of Allah, the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We say this person is alim. But of course, what's the comparison between the ilm of the people that are in dunya and the ilm of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? None whatsoever. No comparison. One of my teachers used to give a beautiful example. He used to give us the example of a pen, telling us that, look, this pen has many components in it. It has a metal, it has plastic, it has ink in it, which is a mixture of some water and some other chemicals. So he says, forget about all the other components that are used in the pen. Let's just take one, and that is the water that is in this pen, that was used for mixing the ink. So there was little water, some portion of the water, maybe even a drop or less than that. There is some component of water there. He says, take that water. What is our knowledge about this water? Now, Allah's knowledge about this water, even this is only to our limited understanding, and it goes much beyond this. When did this water come to this earth? How much more water came with it? Where did this water come? Where is the rest of the water that came with it at this time? Who picked up this water? How did it go to that company? In which pans the water was used, this ink was used? When any detail, every detail, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's knowledge, everything is within the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَلَا يُحِيطُونَ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنْ عِلْمِهِ إِلَّا بِمَا شَاءَ. And we cannot get any knowledge, any understanding of the knowledge of Allah except only as much as He will give us the understanding of it. So, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's asma, all of his attributes are very unique. And of course there is no time to go into any details of the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But one very quick point here about the attributes of Allah. There are two types of attributes. One are called asma'ul dhat, and the others are called asma'ul sifat. Asma'ul dhat are the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that are always there with him, always are functioning. And the opposite of that is not possible at all at any time. For example, Allah is hayy, is alive. The opposite of that is impossible for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He can never be dead, wa-al-Iyadhu billah. Ilm. The opposite of ilm is jahl. So these are asma'ul dhat, that they are always there. He's as-Sami', so he's always the hearer. It's not at any time that wa-al-Iyadhu billah we say he cannot hear, he couldn't hear. He's al-Basir. He sees everything. There isn't any time we say the eyes were closed and he didn't see. He's al-Qadir. There isn't any time that we say that he was not able to do it. His qudra is always there. These are called asma'ul dhat. The others are called asma'ul sifat. Asma'ul sifat means his attributes. For example, he is al-Khaliq. The time that he is creating something, he is al-Khaliq. At the time he is not creating, at that moment he is not doing any khalq. Although he is a Khaliq, when you look at the other times, it's not that he cannot create, but Khaliq means a person who's creating. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, al-Afu, the forgiving one. At the time when he's forgiving, he is al-Afu. But at the other time, he may be al-Muntaqim, punisher. And he's punishing people. He's not forgiving this person, he's punishing him. So, these are the asma'ul sifat, which means whichever is in place, that is the one that is functioning at that time, or it could be all of them at the same time. But for example, now when the people of Jannah will go to Jannah, people of Jahannam have gone to Jannah, and all the people that were supposed to come out of Jahannam, and they went into Jannah, that's it. Ya ahl al-Jannah, khuludun bila maut, wa ya ahl al-Nar, khuludun bila maut. O people of Jannah, remain there forever, there is no death. O people of Jahannam, remain there forever, no death. After that, there is no afu, no more forgiving, that's it. That's gone. The time of afu is gone. There is no other creature that is in the world. It is not that he created another universe. That is gone. So, attributes of Allah that are called asma'ul sifat. That these are attributes that they will be in function at the time when those things are going on. But asma'ul zat, they cannot be the opposite of it. For example, asma'ul sifat, the opposite of it is possible. For example, he's al-Mu'izz, the one who gives honor to people, but the opposite of it is Mudhill. He's al-Mudhill also at the same time. He can dishonor people. He's al-Muhyi, the one who gives life. The opposite of it is possible, that he's al-Mumit. He causes people to die. This is the difference between asma'ul dhat and asma'ul sifat. Talking about the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and about Tawheed of al-Asma wa sifat, we need to remember this is a portion of the Tawheed where most of the time those people who consider themselves muwahhideen, they believe in the oneness of Allah, they fail in Tawheed al-Asma wa sifat. They fail in this. Other religions, all the other religions, regardless, they all fail in Tawheed al-Asma wa sifat. They all fail into this. Many of them, they will fail at Tawheed al-Uluhiya, they will have other idols to worship, other objects to worship. Some of them who hold to Tawheed al-Uluhiya, they come down and they fail in Tawheed al-Rububiya. That they have other things, they're looking at other things in the world.